Mr. President, why are you no separatist?
Well, I was pro-independence since when I was teenager, when after the Franco's death, all the people, my generation, are looking to the future. And at that moment, we, as a Catalan, we think the best way to develop, to evolve as a country, as a society, is to be an independent state. But at that time, at the same time, we shared the idea that the best way to progress in the next period was to try to develop the potential of the new Spanish constitution. So I was pro-independence, but I was disposed to accept the Catalonia identity could be protected under the Spanish constitution. 40 years after the approval of the Spanish constitution, all the evidences are saying that it's not possible. So it's time to exercise a right for the national minorities like Catalonia, the right of self-determination.
What is with the violence?
Obviously, this is a fake. This is a clear proof that there was no one single evidence for accusing my colleagues as guilty of rebellion. Rebellion is one of the worst cases in the Spanish penal code. It could represent 25 years in jail. Rebellion needs the use of violence. Is kind of a violent uprising against the power. All the people has seen our movement was first peacefully, non-violent, democratically, approved by Catalan Parliament, and not secret, open. And not only was a movement made by the institutions or politicians, but with the participation of the large part of the Catalan society. So it's impossible to show any proof that we are guilty of a crime as serious as rebellion. That is the proof that is a not fair trial, and it's unacceptable in Europe to use the penal code for persecuting ideas, for persecuting people who has tried to exercise one of the rights recognized by the Spanish Constitution too, because Spain has ratified the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights in 1977. And in the first point of that International Covenant saying all peoples are right to self-determination. And that, according to the Spanish Constitution, is part of the internal order of Spain. So why my colleagues are in jail since 1.5 years with no condemnation for organizing a referendum with a peaceful and democratic attitude? Why? So it's unbelievable for us too. But now the challenge for Europe is to put out of the Europe standards or the Europe attitude that kind of reactions from a state member against democratic people or ordinary people who only has tried to exercise their right to vote.
I'm also quite skeptical regarding Catalonian independence. Due to some reasons which we could deliver or not, I mean that's not so important. My question was like when you decided to do the referendum, although the Constitutional Court said it's not legal, and I know that the Constitutional Court of Spain is a difficult story for Catalonians. Why have you decided to go for this kind of escalation by doing it as an illegal referendum?
Wow. Yes. Well, I think we need to know, you need to know the sentence of the Spanish Constitutional Court in 2010, because that put an end the way we tried to follow in order to exercise our right of self-government. That sentence was against the approval on the Catalan Parliament and the Spanish Parliament, and in the referendum of our constitutional regional constitution called Statute of Autonomy. We approved that law in the Catalan Parliament 2005. Catalan Parliament 5. For a whole number of 130 MPs in Catalan Parliament, 120 voted for yes. So you can imagine the high level of consensus that law has had. Then that law has passed in the Spanish Parliament, was approved also with a huge majority, obviously with some important changes. And finally that law was approved by the Catalan society, citizen. Despite this, the only 15 members of the Populist Party in Catalonia has well, the argument was accepted by the Spanish Constitutional Court, and the Spanish Constitutional Court has changed our law, has banned a lot of the main articles, has reinterpreted others, and has changed absolutely our law. So it's the only region, autonomous community in Spain, which has a law which has not approved by their people. So it has no sense. Under the Spanish Constitution, that has no sense. Well, till that moment, the majority of Catalan people accepts to progress.
That was the beginning of the success of the separatist movement.
Yeah, because we feel enough is enough. It's impossible to continue to be respected as a Catalan inside the Spanish state. So we want to exercise one right which is recognized by the Spanish Constitution. It is not true. The right of self-determination is not accepted by the Spanish Constitution. That is not true. In the Article 96, the Spanish Constitution says all the international treaties ratified by the Kingdom of Spain are part of the internal legislation of Spain. In 1977, the Kingdom of Spain has ratified the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which Article 1st says all peoples are right of self-determination. Spain recognizes that right, but doesn't respect for Catalonia. We try to propose, before organizing a referendum, a fiscal agreement with Spain. We propose to the Spanish government to try a more equal balance between the economic relation between Spain and Catalonia, in the way that are in the Basque Country and Navarra. So, in the frame of the Spanish Constitution too. They say no. After that, we suggest, okay, what about a non-binding consultation if Catalan people want to remain in Spain, but as a kind of land, a state, or as an independent state? They say no. Well, why do you not transfer the competences to organize a referendum to the Catalan government? For do that, because in the Spanish Constitution, the referendums are perfectly allowed. They say no. Then I proposed to Mr. Rajoy to organize a referendum, as Mr. Cameron has done in the Scottish case. We have no other option than to act in the way that international law recognizes some kind of unilaterality in that cases, where we, in front of a government who doesn't want to start a dialogue in order to find a solution, refuse every attempt, come from the Catalan Parliament with the agreement from the parties who are not pro-independence. Every time we propose one way, they refuse completely. We are a minority in Spain. We're only 16% of the Spanish population. We have not the tools, real tools to move nothing. So there is no one single respect for minorities. So we exercise one right, which is which is right for the protect of minorities like Catalonia. We didn't believe, we didn't think that the Spanish reaction was as violent, as repressive as we have seen. Yes, but during the last 4 years, we tried to find a lot of agreements with the Spanish state. And first, it's quite difficult to deal with a state which doesn't consider you as an equal. And then when you finally find an agreement, they doesn't respect. That is the problem, because even in case there are some laws respected by the Spanish Constitutional Court, but the Spanish state doesn't respect it. And Catalonia, as the most important economy of Spain, needs to have in their hands their own tools to manage their reality. Because our reality has nothing to do with a common system of Spain. The case of migration, we want and we need and we manage the high level of migration. We won't continue. We need to continue doing that, but we have no tools, no money, no legal framework to organize our policies for managing in the good way the challenges of that problem. But if you look at other regions of Spain, there has no one single problem on that. We don't want to be only a region, administrative region with no powers, no money, working a lot, paying a lot, and receiving insults, no respect for our language, no respect for Catalan speakers. It's a question of dignity.
It's nearly the same Manuel asked. Is it possible, has the situation changed after the election, or is it the same situation? And second question, is it possible to have a European way? You want to go to the European Parliament? Is it a possibility? Are there possibilities?
Yeah. It's impossible to know what's exactly the agenda of Pedro Sánchez, the Pedro Sánchez agenda for Catalonia. We don't know that because we are in campaign. The Socialist Party are afraid to lose voters in the rest of Spain if they appear more open to Catalonia, to pro-independence parties than before. So we need to wait until that. Pedro Sánchez has a good opportunity to do something new since the beginning of the Spanish Constitution. In the last 40 years, Spain has not reached one single coalition government. I think it's time to do a coalition government in Spain first. Second, if they decide to find an agreement with the Liberal Party Ciudadanos, which is one of the most nationalist, Spanish nationalist parties, that could start a very bad time. But if Pedro Sánchez tried to deal with Podemos and ask Catalan and Basque pro-independence parties to help in order to develop a radical democratic agenda in 3 ways, we will probably support that. One way, Catalonia. We must to talk, we must to start a fair discussion, open discussion, on the right to self-determination of Catalonia. It doesn't matter if it's tomorrow or in 5 years, but we need, because it's a reality. Second, the democracy in Spain is in retreat. Freedom of expression is threatened. Let a lot of singers, artists, journalists persecuted by the general prosecutor for crimes like terrorism, against monarchy, etc. That is not. This is not acceptable. And third, it's time to to start an agenda for this francization of the public space. is not acceptable to have the Franco's grave in a public monument. It's not accepted to have thousands and thousands and thousands of bodies in the roads of Spain disappear without identification from the civil war. It's unacceptable to consider legal the Francisco Franco Foundation, which one of the goals is to protect the heritage of Franco. That is unacceptable, etc. So, 3 ways: Catalonia, reinforcement of the Spanish democracy, and put an end to the Franco time. If Pedro Sánchez accepts that there is an opportunity and has enough courage enough to do things, as we show during the motion of censure against Mariano Rajoy, we voted for that, for Pedro Sánchez. We are disposed to participate in the agenda for democratizate Spain. But it is in the hands of Pedro Sánchez.
The Greens in Germany are, for different reasons, quite skeptical regarding the Putin-Kremlin regime, not regarding Russia.
You get
Well,
money from Russia.
Yeah, that's 2 things. We didn't receive 1 single euro from Russia, from China, from Israel, from Donald Trump, from Venezuela. It is a fake news. Well, at the beginning, I believe there was a joke, because in a radio station from Lithuania, I think, a journalist called to the Spanish Minister of Defense, saying, "We are members of the Secret Service, be careful with Mr. Puigdemont because he was with one of our spies called Cipollino." Well, that was a joke. But concerning the Russian boats, I think Clara could explain more in depth, because in the Westminster Commission, there was a commission or a report on that, and the conclusion was exactly the opposite. Exactly the opposite. The Russian boats helped the Spanish point of view, and we obviously don't want to have any kind of deal with the Russian government. We have no opportunity to do that. We don't want to do that, and we believe in Europe. Another thing is Russia. I think Europe is wrong in its politics on Russia, because the embargo affect the normal people, and the big fortunes are not affected by that.